Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third episode of Life in Racer's Lane. Today we have on Mr. Harubin representing the College of Applied Technologies. Why don't you say hello?
Hello, nice to meet you guys.
So I have 10 questions here, or just 10 topics, talking about the organization as a whole, the program as a whole.
Okay.
But first things first, how did you get into this position? How did you get into teaching? And how did you land in the University of Northwestern Ohio?
So when I came back to the University of Northwestern Ohio, I was an atypical student. I came back when I was 30 because my first career choice had ended. This was my second passion. I grew up in the motorsports industry. So I came back, went to school here. When I left, I tuned race cars. I worked for a multitude of companies in the aftermarket. And the job that I had, I traveled all over the world doing what I did. And I got tired of traveling. And I met with the dean of the university at the time at a SEMA show, and he goes, "You want to come back and teach?" And my first initial answer was no. And then about 3 hours later, I'm like, maybe. And about 8 hours after that, I said, "Hey, let's do an interview." And then I came back to teach, just to basically get the next generation ready to continue on with what was happening out in the world in motorsports.
And is that what you like to do, is to get the kids with their hands-on learning?
Yes, to get the kids realizing that just because you're good at turning wrenches may not always make you successful in the business world. You have to come at it from a different aspect to realize when you're moving at it from a hobby to a career, you have to put a little more time, effort into it to make yourself a professional to move into that next step. And I found that my experience out in the world and the different things allowed me to tell the students, hey, this is what you need to do. And the reason I know is because I've already done it. I've already seen it. I know what the mistakes are, try not to make those.
Yeah, so you said there's a very big difference between the kids who just want to turn wrenches and then the ones who actually apply it in the real world. So what would you say is the biggest difference in those two kinds of kids? All they care about is turning wrenches. Differentiate between the kids that want to actually get out.
The biggest difference is when you move from motorsports is you're in front of other people. The people that you're in front of that give you the money to go racing don't necessarily know what you're doing. They want to see perception. They want to see a game. So you have to play the game in order to keep them happy. And sometimes they're like, well, I just want to do this or I do that. It's like, it doesn't matter. They see one thing and perceive it as another thing. You can't necessarily go at it with your mindset that I'll run it the way I want it. And they'll just have to deal with it. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And one thing that I did do a little bit of research on, and I found that it says 70% of the stuff that you guys do in your classes is hands-on, and 30% of it is in the classroom. Correct. So to someone new listening, what does that mean to them, or what can they expect to see when it comes to that 70-30?
A lot of times when you start talking about concepts in an abstract, students will struggle with that concept. So once we go over the concept as how we're actually going to do it, then we move into the shop where they actually get to touch it. That is the biggest thing that we have over other universities, is sometimes they'll just lecture on it and just move on. In order to retain the information, to grasp what we're talking about, you actually have to put your hand on something physical, move it here, move it there, and then be like, oh, I see when I move it in different directions, how it actually applies to what I'm doing. I'm not just looking at it in an abstract form. I'm actually physically touching something.
And that's the same way that I learn. Like if I'm not touching it, if I'm not getting experience on it with my hands, then it's like I never even learned it.
Yep.
And so you said you're hands-on with the tools and all the equipment. So in your class specifically, or what are the specific tools that these kids can expect to get their hands on with?
So if you're in my high performance drivelines class, you come in, you set up rear ends. We go through automatic transmissions and selecting torque converters. We go into manual transmissions and clutch setups. And there is not only the design of it and how you're going to take it apart and put it back together, but actually selecting it, figure out what's going to work, what's going to take everything that I worked on in the optimal power range, and then make it work with the components that I've picked. A lot of students, or even people in the general public, they want to make horsepower, they want to make torque, it's sexy, it's the cool part of our thing. Right. But if you can't get it to tires to get the car to accelerate, it doesn't really work. And we see that a lot of students have a hard time grasping the concept of drivelines. In the video game world of racing, you don't have to mess with the rear end or the transmission.
Right.
You fix the engine, you mess with the suspension, you skip over that other part. So we have to work around that sometimes with the youth. They're like, oh, this is not something I need to do, until you show them that, yes, this will really break. And
actually is important.
It is very important.
And so you said you are drivelines, right?
Yes, I do. I teach high performance drivelines and high performance fuels are the two classes I teach.
Cool. And then so what are the other programs that students can go into in applied technologies?
Okay, so they can do an automotive, which is basically OEM automotive. They can do diesel, which is going to be heavy trucks, high performance, and you can actually combine any of these together. There's a light duty diesel degree, which is more along the lines of working on pickup trucks with diesels rather than semis with diesels. There is the EV program, which is obviously electric vehicles. Trying to remember what the name of it is. There is a new degree, and I apologize for not knowing the name, but it's heavy equipment. So if it's people who want maybe to do the diesel world, but to actually go work on earth moving equipment and things of that nature. And then along on the diesel side, there's also an agricultural degree.
Cool. And then, so all of your students that you've had going through those degrees, what would you say, have you ever seen someone use the experience that you've taught them or that they've learned in the College of Applied Technologies, and they've been able to use that and to get into somewhere really cool in the professional world with what they've learned?
There's been a multitude of students who have done that. The two newest ones, they're going to pop to my head first. They're both on Clay Milliken's top fuel team.
Oh, really?
So I had them not only as students, but they were also a member of my drag racing club. And I think one of the best compliments that I ever had was Grant came back and told me that if he can survive working with me and my race car when we go out and do the drag club, that working on a top fuel car is actually a little easier.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm going to take that as a compliment, but I'm not sure that that's quite the compliment that you meant. And he goes, no, I'm just saying that you prepared me for this field to be able to do it with what I'm doing. So yeah, there's been a multitude of students that are doing all kinds of fascinating stuff. And I love it when they come back and actually tell me what they're doing.
So you said like the things that they learn here, the things that they do here almost directly applied to the things that they want to do in the real world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's really cool, because that's one of the things that I love about UNOH is that a lot of the things that people are learning and get their hands on doing is the same stuff that they're going to do in the real world. So like, it is really cool to see that, like, people can actually get out there and do these things. Yep. So to a freshman, hypothetically, watching this podcast, or think about someone considering the College of Applied Technologies, what was something that you would want to tell that student face to face?
The biggest thing I can tell you is come in with a goal of a career. Okay, have an idea of what you want to do. That doesn't mean that you can't come here and change it when you realize maybe that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. But if you start somewhere with an idea, career choice of where you want to go, it makes those long hours of class, those study times, those times easier to do because there's something to maintain at the end. And then the other thing I tell them is realize that you're a young kid. You're going to come to school. You're going to change your major because you realize maybe it wasn't exactly what that is. That's okay. It's way better than to get at the end and be like, I'm not sure this is exactly what I want to do, and then have to pivot. So if you pivot while you're actually in school, I find that those students are a lot more successful than the students who just come here going, I don't have any idea what I want to do. Yeah, like I said, you don't have to be right, but start somewhere.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a 2+2.
Correct.
Where people can combine the two, right? So go into a little bit on what that's all about.
So once you finish your technical degree, you can come up here and basically start as a junior and work forward to get your bachelor's degree. We tell all students this, that your body is eventually going to get old, and picking up heavy things are not going to be what you want to do. You want to tell somebody younger than you to pick up a heavy thing. And if you have a business degree behind what you already do, it's very easy to step into that next role, wrench. Cool, I'm going to move into the office. I'm going to run a business. And then you're even more successful when you go out there. If you want to go into racing, you need to know marketing. If you want to go run your own individual shop, you need to understand the business world and how that works. So that next step, and the fact that we start you out as a junior in the business school, is just an amazing leg up of trying to go anywhere else.
Yeah. And so you mentioned like there's things like marketing, there's things like other things that go into being a part of a race team. So what would you say are those parts that people should know about or should learn about that aren't in the classroom, such as marketing and things like that?
Marketing, business. One of the things that we tell a lot of students to do, if you want to go race, you want to go work on a race team, and that's what you're going to do. One of the programs that we do offer here that I should have mentioned earlier is you can get your CDL while you're here.
Oh, cool.
Every race team in the professional level moves their car with a semi. So you can come in not knowing anything. And if you can move the semi back and forth, you can actually get a job on a race team. It's normally when race teams call us looking for students, the first thing they ask is, do they have a CDL? The second thing is will they show up? So if you can fill those two categories, they'll teach you the rest on top of what we've already taught you. So,
yeah. And so one thing I did want to ask you is I feel like the passion at UNOH, people always care about what they're working on.
Yes.
Like it doesn't feel like it's just study, listen to lectures, take the test, and move on with your life.
Yes.
But I feel like when you're at a school for motorsports or for cars or something that you're actually passionate about, then the kids actually want to do the work and they enjoy doing it.
Yes.
So what would you say is the correlation between just a regular standard tech school where they just learn about cars rather than, UNOH where they actually get to build these cars hands-on?
There's a couple of things that I'd put together. All of our instructors have already worked out in the field. They're telling you their experience that they've already have. I'm not somebody who sat back and just read a textbook and now I'm going to tell you what to do. I've actually done the things that I'm teaching you how to do. The other part that comes into it is students will come in with a mindset of, oh, I can take this apart. Well, I'm going to teach you a mindset of how do you put it back together. Okay. So we have to think of it in both aspects. And you can't look at the car as a whole, look at it in little pieces, break it up and make it your personal mark on what you're doing. And especially when we get to motorsports, a concept that students don't quite think about is they look at it in the aspect, there's a human being in the car you're building.
Yeah.
So if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you can do this really wrong and things can go really sideways really quickly. So you have to come at it with, I have to absolutely love what I'm doing because I have to realize that I love another human being. It's whether it's me or you or somebody else that you work for. If you do this wrong, it's not the video game. I don't get to hit reset.
You can't just respawn.
I can't just respawn at the next spot. If that were the case, that would be a very interesting way to go through life. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works.
Well, I feel like that'll take the fun out of it anyway. Like, where's the thrill?
Where's the thrill?
But you said that like the small parts matter. Like, like the nitty gritty details of what you're building matter. So what would you say is the significance and the importance of, like, say you're building a transmission, what does like the gear ratios or what does those small itty gritty details really mean? Because as you said, it could mean the difference between finishing a race in first or crashing and burning.
Yes. Sometimes when students come to the tech school, the first thing they want to do is go tear something apart. Okay, I know how to tear it apart. I'm like, okay, can you please let me teach you how to understand what you're doing first so that you can visualize what you're doing, then move it into hands-on. Yeah. Well, why do I have to have this lecture? Because you don't know what you're doing yet. Let me tell you what you're doing. Then let's go learn it hands-on. And then you're like, oh, let's tie those two things together so that we're not guessing. We're actually making confident, logical decisions on what we're going to do and set it up the right way. And that's where those little decisions go. And you talked about being excited, but the excited is confident. It's excited. The car's going to go fast and I know it's going to be okay because I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm confident in those little details and everything.
I haven't thought about that. Yeah, I haven't thought about that where it's like you built that car, it's going to be fine.
Yes.
Because you took the time to make sure everything inside that is built to perfection.
Yep. That's why sometimes we let students struggle with something. They're like, why don't you help me? I'm like, I'm not leaving I'm not coming with you when you leave. You need to be able to confidently do this now. Well, I don't know if it's right. Well, try it the other way. Well, it wasn't right the other way. Well, then try it back the other way. Well, it wasn't right there. Cool. You just answered your question. It was right where you had it. Oh, okay. Well, I see what you were doing. And sometimes students, especially who come from the public school system, struggle with, why won't you help me? Yeah. And it's not a why won't I help you? I need you to actually start growing a little bit on your own.
Like learning how to problem solve on your own. Yep. I think that's also one thing with building cars specifically is like finding out, like, something's not working.
Yes.
Something's not working. I don't know why it's not working,
Yep.
but you need to problem solve and get it all figured out.
Absolutely.
Back home in Missouri, I have a drift car. So if anything's not working, I'm like, all right, YouTube, what am I doing wrong? Reddit, what am I doing wrong?
Absolutely.
And I spend more time doing research on the problem or trying to figure out what the situation is rather than actually going and building it and just breaking stuff that I don't need to break.
Yeah. One of our instructors in the high performance program has this saying, and I've actually been part of the saying, which is frustrating, but it does happen to all of us. He goes, either you have enough time to do it right the first time, or you will have more than enough time and enough money to do it right the second time.
Okay.
So try not to rush to that end goal. Take the time to have that confidence and know it's right. Because if you don't set it up right and it breaks, you're going to have to do it again anyway. So wouldn't I rather do it right the first time and realize doing it right the first time might be putting it together, taking it back apart, adjusting, and making sure that everything is exactly where I want it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the money part of it. Like you don't want to spend all the money to rebuild it again. So I've heard a lot about like the difference between buying cheap parts or buying expensive parts. So is there a difference, or is there a big, like certain parts you can buy cheap or certain parts you can buy expensive, or should go for more expensive? Or
There's a classic saying in the high performance world. It's called the triangle of speed. So you can only pick two of the triangle.
Isn't it like reliability
and fast,
power
and cheap?
And cheap. Yeah, I've seen that.
So if you want it to be cheap and fast, it won't be reliable. If you want it to be fast and reliable, it won't be cheap. So the decision determines what do you actually want. Can you build it cheap? Yes. Is it going to break? Also, yes.
Yeah.
So what you decide if you're going to break it is how dangerous is the break.
Okay.
And we talk to this, especially in my drivelines class. I'll have a student who will go with our modern technology. They'll go buy an LS at a junkyard. They'll put a turbo on it. The thing's making 1,000 horsepower because it's fairly easy to do with a credit card and a little bit of understanding. Mm-hmm. And then they'll put it in a 4-cylinder Mustang that had a rear end meant to hold 100 horsepower. And they're like, well, I'll just fix it when it breaks. Well, if you're going 100 plus miles an hour and your rear end breaks,
it just snaps.
You're going to, things that are going to happen very quickly is sky, probably a long box they're going to stick you in.
Yeah.
So how about we fix that so that doesn't happen?
Well, and I think those are the things that people can learn in classes like
absolutely.
Where like they know, like, hey, I got this LS. I have this twin turbo LS. This thing makes God knows how many horsepower.
Yep.
But I also learned that the car might just snap in half.
Yes. I need to be able to fix the rest of it.
Right. And I think that's one thing that's really cool is it's like I've seen the classrooms hands-on where it's like, this is a transmission room where it's literally just a room of transmissions, but then you walk 3 feet outside the door and there's a car that needs the transmission fixed.
Yes.
So you literally apply everything you're learning 5 feet outside of the classroom and actually do it.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that will definitely help kids and have them realize the importance of knowing every in and out of a car, knowing in and out of things that they want to do.
Yeah.
And you're part of the drag club.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So you can take a second to promote that, take a second to let people know what that's all about, because I personally don't know.
Okay. So the drag club is an extracurricular activity for students who want to learn more about drag racing. The unique thing about that is you come and go as you please because it's an extracurricular. A lot of my students work jobs and they come as their schedule allows. We have a 60-foot launch pad that we use that the students are allowed to use. We have a couple of training aids that are drag cars that we maintain on campus. And then we have a turbocharged 85 Camaro that the students built that we are actually taking out to different events to actually learn, to have students actually have some hands-on experience on learning on how to work on that, on an actual race car, making the decisions of what we need to do to make it go faster and things of that nature, to make it safer, how to go through the data acquisition to figure out what the suspension is doing and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think the difference between working on a car in the classroom is a different ballgame than learning it on the track.
Correct.
Like actually being there at the event and you built that car and you're seeing it at work. There's a different, not only sense of pride in that, like, hey, I built that car, but it's also learning what it's like to be at an actual event. And I feel like any motorsport can vouch for that.
Yes.
Where it's like you have this car, you practice it, like you drive it on just some small roads or some small tracks, but then when you're at an actual event, it is a completely different monster that I think UNOH is a very good job at doing. Because I feel like a lot of the kids, I'm sure you can vouch for this, but I feel like a lot of the kids actually get out there if they want to
Yes.
and get to real events. So by the time they graduate, they should already have the connections.
Yeah,
or have
the network already in place. Yep.
Yeah, the networking to already know these people and take what they learned and then just jump straight into the field with their cap and gown.
Yeah. One of the most unique things that I find with students the first time we go to the racetrack, they want to know when they're going to go watch racing.
Okay.
I'm like, you're going to watch this car go down the track 3 or 4 times, and then we're going to leave. You don't get to go watch racing. You're here for this. And sometimes students, the first couple of times they go to work on a car who've never experienced that, can't quite grasp that there's all kinds of noise happening behind them that they don't get to see until we actually get to go up there. Mm-hmm. And it's just an experience of students moving from students to adulthood, of where this is now going to be your career. Is this what you want to do as your career? This is what's involved with it. We were at LS Fest in Bowling Green, Kentucky with the car, and we found that there was an issue that we needed to change. And at about 12 o'clock midnight, we worked until about 1:30, not quite 1:30, fixing the car. And one of the kids goes, wow, we work on it till it's done. I'm like, yeah, well, we've got a race tomorrow. So,
what do you think we're going to be doing? We got to get it done.
We got to do it until it's done, which is a little different than if you've only ever worked a 9-to-5 job or never been to the race to actually work on a car. The hours basically work when it's done is when your hours are up.
Well, and I feel like that's something that they can't learn in the classroom.
No,
right?
they can't.
They can only learn that when they're actually out in the field. And then I think that also helps people more identify what they really want to do with their lives. Because if drag racing is cool, I like cars, they go fast. But then if they realize, I don't want to work those hours at 1 a.m.
Yes.
I don't want to not watch all the other cars and just worry about my own.
Yep.
Then they would be able to hone in on.
Yeah, and that's that pivot point where they're like, oh, okay, this is what I thought. Maybe I want to go over here and do that. I talked to a manufacturer who wants me to come do R&D in his office on race car parts. That sounds way better than being in the heat and traveling all over the place and dealing with that stuff. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, so to someone who wants to come in, or say someone was at your open house, say someone was there talking to you and they want to actually get going in the College of Applied Technologies, what steps can they take to actually get into your classroom?
Sure, I have no idea. I can tell. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure there's an application process of some sort. Yeah. So you would just talk to an admissions rep and fill out your application, and figure out when your start date was going to be. The admissions would go through all of your information to make sure that you meet all of our requirements, and then we get you a start date. And then when you get here, the one thing that I talk to a student literally at open house on Saturday. And I'm like, when you get here, and if this is what you want to do, get yourself involved. Okay.
Yeah.
The classroom is a great thing, but there are so many other things here that can help you with your education. Take advantage of all of them. You're only 18 to 22 once. The older you get, the more responsibilities you get, the harder it is to do some of these things. Do them now. Get out of your dorm room, talk to people, go do things, put in the extra time now that will be beneficial to your career down the way.
Yeah, and I think getting involved is something that I think everybody should do personally.
Yes.
I think everybody should be getting involved as they can in growing their networking portfolio. It doesn't even matter what business you're in, what program you're in. If you're the kid that has the connections and has the networking to jump straight from UNOH to the real world, you already did the hard part because UNOH is giving all of these things to you. So if you like drag racing, then meet him, go to some races. If you like drifting, go to some events, rally, off-road, all of these things, autocross.
Monster trucks, whatever
your deal is, whatever you enjoy doing, there's something at UNOH for you to do. And getting involved is the biggest way. Just start meeting people, just start shaking hands. And then you can end up at an actual race, working on these actual cars and getting in the real world.
Yeah. A great example of that is my second job in the high performance world was not advertised. The CEO of the company called me and asked me if I'd be interested in a position. And I met him at SEMA through the school-sponsored SEMA trip when I was a student. That's how I actually met him.
See, like UNOH students are going to SEMA. What are the schools doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, just get involved and get out to SEMA. Like, I would love to go.
Yeah. So
where else would you say students have gone to, or what other events or locations have you seen students go to and prosper from?
They're from basically IMSA, circle track, NASCAR. I had a student that I just talked to recently that was looking at an F1 team. He was in his third interview process for that. Another student I just talked to is doing R&D for drag racing teams in North Carolina, and he was not even a drag racing guy. He was a hardcore drifter when he was a student, but he moved to North Carolina because that was where he was from, and now he's doing that. One of my other, again, I'm just going off mine because I follow them. One of my other former students is fabricating exhaust. It's basically R&Ding exhaust systems for a big manufacturer. They're just pretty much whatever you want to do, you have the possibilities of doing it when you leave here.
And you mentioned you still follow the kid, like you still see what he's doing. So do the students still have access or still have your guys' connections at UNOH if they have questions?
Yep. I get emails or text messages from students all the time with, hey, I did this, or we're having this issue, or what do you think, or who do I talk to? I would say on at least a weekly basis, I have a former student reaching back out to get pointed in a direction. And it's one of the things that I find, if I can answer the question, I answer it. If not, I'll point them in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that also separates the College of Applied Technologies is where I feel like at other tech schools, they just build things and then they just send them on their merry way.
Yes.
And then they just say, hey, good luck. You learned it. Study if you need to. But then here, if you have actual questions, you can actually ask and you can get back to you guys and ask more questions if needed.
Yeah, that's a great thing. We are a community of racers from our name. You know, we have just all over the world. When we were at LS Fest, we met former graduates from 1978 up until just a couple of years ago.
Wow.
They came back and said they just saw the school name and they told me they're just talking about when they graduated and what they're doing now and, owning different shops and race teams and, having a race car. And one guy goes, I did this so I could build my own race cars and now I'm an accountant. I'm like, oh, that's a weird pivot, but cool.
If it works for you.
If it works for you. And he goes, it's just what I wanted to do. But yeah, it's go somewhere to a motorsports event and just hold up a sign, say, did you go to UNOH? You'll meet a gaggle of people that actually went through the school here.
Yeah.
It happens when I go to PRI and I have my shirt on, I run into people that I went to school with versus people that are like, oh, you're from the school. I'm like, yep, and they're like amazed at how big the campus has grown, and we continue to grow as we get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, because I was seeing in the library building, I forgot, that's a 13,000 building, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I was in that building, and it showed like the timeline of all of the UNOH related, events that unfolded.
Yes.
And it was like, wasn't it like 80 something years ago where UNOH started like actually being a motorsports school, or I think
they started automotive in the 70s. I think high performance was, again, we'll look these up, but like late 90s, early 2000s. Okay. The high performance degree actually started. And yeah, it was in the 400 building at that time. And there wasn't even a parking lot next to it, was grass. The pictures were, when I actually came, I was thinking about coming to school here when I graduated high school in 92. And there was two buildings, the 300 and the 400 building were the only two buildings on campus that were College of Tech.
Wow. We've grown.
We've grown a little bit.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, because like, just think about how young in the grand scheme of colleges, right?
Yes.
We've only been here for a couple of decades, and look at what the students are doing. They're already getting out, whether they're drivers and they're behind the wheel in the real world, or if they're on the cruise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's really cool. So I'll end it off here. But what is one thing that you want everyone to know about the College of Applied Technologies? If you were to summarize the entire thing into a couple sentences and let people know what it is all about, what would you say to that?
This is the best education, bar none, you'll get anywhere, regardless of what technical field you want to get into. The only asterisk I ever put on this, you get out of it what you put into it. So we'll teach you, but you still have to learn it. So we have to come together as a partnership, and I'll make you successful, but I can't do it on my own and you can't do it on your own. So we have to work together in order to make it happen.
Perfect. And as you said, like just focus on your work. And if you actually care about it, then it won't even feel like work.
No, and it won't. Like I said, you'll have an end goal. You'll know where you're going. So it never becomes hard when there's an actual something to reach.
Right. Like when you have that drive to accomplish something,
Yep.
then your mind is focused on that, so you're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, hey, sounds good. Thank you very much for
You're
this
welcome.
podcast. I really do appreciate it. Now, if
No
any of
problem.
you guys have any more questions, how can they reach out to you? How can they get in contact with you?
So my email address, we'll put it in here because it's spelled weird because I have a thing, but you can email me at my UNOH email at any time.
Perfect. And then, yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.